Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Toss-Up. I'm Riley Woodall. We're into November, which means players are returning to the hardwood. College basketball is back. We've got a packed show for you today as we'll dissect the new-look Indiana men's basketball squad and predict some of the biggest games of the 2024-25 season. It's all next on the Toss-Up. With the cold temperatures and crisp air of November comes a sport that captures the hearts and minds of many across the globe. The energy, the passion, and the rich history of basketball is something unlike any other sport in the world. The sweet sound of the sneakers squeaking across the floor, the perfect swish, the electric environments that make your ears ring, the heartbreak, the joy, the highs, and the lows. College hoops truly encapsulates everything we love and hate about athletics. And for fans of Indiana men's basketball, there's a unique buzz around Bloomington and a hope that this year could be a special one. We've got a stacked panel here to preview the Hoosiers' upcoming season. Kara Adams, Audrey Marr, and Zion Brown. Guys, I feel like someone needs to pinch me because basketball's back all of a sudden. It feels like it just snuck up on us out of nowhere, but it's coming at a really amazing time. Hoosier football's doing great, and now Hoosier fans can watch college basketball.
Certainly.
So, yeah, it's so
Got
exciting.
me a little emotional there in that opener, right?
I was
you
in
got
my
me locked
Shakespeare.
in.
I was in my Shakespeare right there. So we'll jump right into it, guys. There's a lot of hype around this men's squad this season. A lot of key transfers, a lot of excitement, team bonding, chemistry over the summer. This team's poised, and Mike Woodson said at one point before practice, let's go win a Big Ten championship, guys. So they're very confident that they can do that. What excites you most about this team heading into this season?
I mean, I'd say overall the depth. I think you talked about the chemistry too. I mean, Indiana was in a place last season where they needed someone to step up in the bench, and Xavier Johnson goes down. Now they really have no one to turn to. So now in these last two exhibition games, there's been a lot of depth. I think it's really, really crazy to see the difference in 2 seasons. And now, I mean, you said it, a lot of excitement going on in football, a lot of excitement going on in basketball. So it's crazy to see this world of Indiana sports.
Yeah, right. It feels like we're in an alternate dimension, right? But a good one, one, right?
Well, for me, I think Miles Rice excites me the most. I mean, how can you not talk about him? He's just already proven to be such a true point guard for this team and kind of really be that leader that Indiana really needs. Just his ability to control the game, control the pace of the game. He's just truly fits in great with this team and the chemistry as a whole. And I think he's already been named the captain. I just think that speaks true to a lot of his character on and off the court and who he is as a person.
Yeah, what I'm looking forward to is the pace of play for this team. I think the depth has a lot to do with that because they have so many guys they can put out there and play on the court so that you're not really worried about fatigue and guys getting tired and worn down. And with a point guard like Miles Rice, with somebody like Keenan Carlisle, guys that can really just push the ball up the floor, even Bryson Tucker, who we saw look very impressive in this team's exhibition. I cannot wait to see this team just move the ball up and down the court as fast as they can because that's how you create easy buckets.
Well, a couple of you mentioned it. The exhibitions have already happened, 2 of them, one against Tennessee where they upset the Vols, and then they dismantled Marion on their home court. So, Kara, in those 2 exhibition games, what did you see from the Hoosier squad that you liked and maybe some things that you didn't like?
Well, I saw a team that really just feels like they have a true identity this year. And I think it kind of goes back to guys who've been around for a while like Trey, but also I think Miles Rice is so important to that. And I think you've kind of already seen a little Miles Rice, Malik renewed duo. Miles had 4 assists in that Tennessee exhibition game, all 4 to Malik. It just kind of felt like they knew where each other was going to be on the court together and just really able to connect. But for things that I think they can continue working on, certainly something that Indiana fans want to see, 3-point shooting. Oh, Luke Goody's, I think once he gets going later on in this season, he'll really be able to kind of step up and fill that role that Indiana is looking for. And I think just keeping turnovers low throughout the game and continuing to improve on defense is something that I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the season.
Yeah, defensively especially. They struggled against defending the 3 last year, something that they got to clean up heading into this year. And when you have so many transfers coming together, it's really hard to get those guys working together, to communicate, be on the same page, particularly on the defensive side. But I feel like they're already a step ahead in that category, at least in the 2 exhibitions that we've seen. Audrey, we've mentioned Miles Rice. Oumar Ballo's another big transfer. So I'm curious from your perspective, which transfer do you think is going to be the most impactful? And then who's a newcomer that maybe people aren't paying enough attention to that could surprise some folks?
Yeah, well, I'll start off with the most impactful. I have to stick it with Miles Rice. I mean, you guys talked about the pace of play that he's going to bring to this team, but I'm going to kind of touch on the leadership that he's brought. I mean, he's just entering into his first season, and he's already one of Indiana's captains. And I think he said in this post-game or press conference weekly last week, he said that he really needs to be the head of the snake, so he can really focus on everybody around him, making sure that they're where they want to be, they're in a good headspace. And just to see that in these first 2 games in the offseason, to see that he's really focusing on everybody else around him, putting everybody else first before him. I mean, he is just a great leader on the court, which Indiana needs. Again, that's something that they didn't have the biggest presence of last season. So it's very, very interesting to see. But then for the most exciting, I'm going to go with Bryson Tucker. I think
he's going to surprise some folks.
He's going to surprise
a
couple people. Yeah, I mean, in his one game that he had against Marion, it was his first game, he led the team in points. I mean, how can you not look at that and be like, are you kidding? I think he also does bring an exciting factor in the pace of play. He's a very versatile player. So, but yeah, I think we will see a lot of him, and I see him bringing Indiana back to back with the Big Ten Freshman of the Year award.
Wow, some high praise.
I like
some high
that take.
stakes.
Yeah.
I like that take, though. I like that take. Zion, last season in particular, it seemed like Indiana struggled to be consistent, particularly in conference play. And the Big Ten conference slate is tough. It's tough every single season. But it feels like they win a couple, they lose a couple, they lose when they shouldn't lose, and they win when they probably shouldn't win. And there was just no consistency throughout that Big Ten conference slate. How do they maintain that this season?
Well, Riley, I'll go one more than you. They do this every year, right? In the last 3 seasons under Mike Woodson, they have had at least one stretch where they lost 3 or more games in a row in Big Ten play. It doesn't matter how good the team is. Last year was the worst team he's had, but even when he had those 2 other teams that were a little better, they had these struggles in conference play. It usually comes in the early, mid-January portion where for some reason they just lose focus. And that to me is the big thing. You can't lose focus in the middle of a season, especially in a season where, let's face it, if this team doesn't do a lot in the Bahamas, it's going to be hard for them to gain really resume wins elsewhere, right? They have to do it in Big Ten play if they don't do it in that Bahamas trip. So I'm looking for this team to see if they can not lose more than 2 in a row at any point or in conference play, because if you do go on a slide, that could slide you down, way down. I think this team will be a tournament team, but a lot about where they end up seeding and how good they are will have to do with what they do in Big Ten play, because their non-conference resume isn't really going to be much unless they go undefeated in Atlantis.
Yeah, and again, something that I'd like to see them grow in is maybe continuing to just find ways to get ugly wins.
Yeah.
They've lost ugly the past couple years. Find ways to take that next step, win ugly in a few places where maybe they shouldn't win some of those games. So we'll look way into the future, way too early predictions. I know you guys love this. We'll start with the Big Ten championship game and then your winner. ZB, I'm going back to you. Who makes the Big Ten tournament championship game and who wins the Big Ten title?
All right, I think this Indiana team makes the Big Ten tournament championship game, the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah.
I also think Rutgers makes it, and
it's
a weird matchup, very much so.
Very
but
odd.
That Rutgers team with Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, I think that team is going to be very good. I really do. I know they're young. I think they'll figure it out as the year goes on. I'm not sure how well they'll start. I think Rutgers wins that game.
Do you think Rutgers is going to upset? We'll say upset.
We'll
we don't know what the records are. At that
It's
point.
bold, but I'm going with the Scarlet Knights.
I like it. I like the boldness. Audrey, what are your picks?
I'm going to keep it bold. I'm going to say Indiana makes it as well.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say it's Michigan. I think with Dusty May, to see what he's done at FAU and to kind of see him translate it to Michigan, they had some really good preseason play as well. So I'm going to say Michigan and Indiana, but I'm going to say Michigan takes this one. I think Dusty May, he knows the game very well. And I mean, he has some history with Indiana, but so we'll see. I don't think he knows anything that's going on with this team this year, but I think Michigan takes this one.
Kara, are you going to make it Indiana across the board making the tournament game or no?
No, I'm sticking Michigan, but I'm going to go Purdue. I think they're in that post-Zach Edey era, but still got some key returners. Matt Painter is a great coach. He knows how to get his team developed along the season. But give me Michigan, too. Just like Audrey, we've seen what Dusty May does in the postseason. Look what he did at FAU. I think Dusty May really finds a groove with this Michigan team, and they have a big postseason run.
Riley is not.
You guys don't.
He does not
Indiana,
belong.
Rutgers, Indiana's winning the tournament championship. Mike Woodson keeps his word. We'll move way further down the line, past March, the NCAA tournament final, and who wins the NCAA title. Kara, I'm going back to you.
Oh, Riley, that's hard to
I
choose,
know
but-
it is. I know it is.
All right, I'm going to go Arizona, Houston. Arizona,
Okay.
Caleb Love, super strong backcourt. Houston, 4 starters from that Sweet 16 team last year. I'm
Huge.
going to go Houston. Calvin Sampson gets it done. He gets his national championship.
I love it. I love it. Audrey, what are you
This
picking?
is so hard.
Yeah.
I think the one team that I have been sure about making it is Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga is going to make it. To see what they did to Baylor just this week, I mean, that
They
was,
couldn't miss.
Yeah,
just did
they
not
really
miss.
can't. So I think they've had a couple of off years where they don't land where they want to be. Gonzaga is going to make it this year. They're going to bounce back. I'm going to say Duke. I'm going to say Duke's going to make it.
Wow.
I think it is a very hot take, but I think that they have Cooper Flagg now. I'm not going to say that he's going to be the one that leads Indiana, Duke, down to the national championship, but I think that they have the pieces that they need to have. So I'm going to say Duke, Gonzaga takes it.
All righty. Zion.
All right, I'm also going to put Duke in mine. I think that team with Cooper Flagg, we don't see a lot of true freshmen become the best players in the country. I think he will be the best player in the country this year. They also got Con Knipple, another really talented freshman. Tyrese Proctor coming back. Mason Gillis is a guy with winning experience coming over from Purdue. So I really like that Blue Devils team. And I will say Kansas. Not an outside the box picks, Duke and Kansas, right? But like that Kansas team just has so much talent.
Yeah.
It is.
They really.
They're bringing in
really
AJ
good.
Storr.
They're really
They're bringing back Dwan Harris, Hunter Dickinson,
Yeah.
KJ Adams. Like that's just such a good team. We know Bill Self is a good coach. I'm picking the Blue Devils in this matchup, though. I truly do think that team, even if it's led by 2 or 3 freshmen, really, I do think that team is good enough to win a national championship.
This may be a little bit of a meme pick, but I really like Creighton. I really just like how they play. I like their logo. I like everything about them. And then Alabama, I really like their offense. Their offense has been volatile the past 2 years, and I feel like it's kind of staggered and stunted a little bit as they've gotten into the postseason. But if they can maintain that, they're going to be really, really dangerous in the tournament. Thank you guys for humoring me with the way too early predictions. I really appreciate it. Don't go anywhere, though. Coming up after the break, we'll break down some of the most anticipated college basketball games of the 2024-25 season. We'll be right back.
The Toss-Up, Fridays on IUSTV.
Welcome back to the Men's Hoops Toss-Up. It's time to bring back a fun game called Precarious Predictions. Here's how it works. Each panelist will be giving their picks for some of the biggest games of the season. Will they be right? Will they be wrong? Only time will tell. Kara, you're up first. November 8th, UNC at Kansas.
All right, I got to go Kansas. I think Allen Fieldhouse Friday night in Lawrence, Kansas. I think UNC puts up a good fight. I think it's a close game, but I think Kansas holds down the fort and they win it.
All righty, Audrey, you're up next. November 12th, Kentucky at Duke.
Battle of the Blue Bloods. I mean, I am going to go with Duke, though. I think they have the experience. I think with Mark Pope now just joining this Kentucky team, I think there's not enough to know about Kentucky this year. But, I mean, you said about Mason Gillis, Cooper Flagg. They have the pieces, so I'm going to go Duke.
Zion, November 26th, Houston at Bama.
Oh, man, I'm going to be locked into this game. You mentioned Bama's offense, always a joy to watch.
Yes.
Houston's defense is like the opposite on the other end. I can't
Oh,
wait
man.
to watch this game. Oh, man. I'm going to go Bama because they will be at home. So I think Mark Sears and that team gets it done.
Kara, back to you. December 8th, UConn at Texas.
Back-to-back champs going up
Yeah, I
against
know.
a
There we go.
completely almost new team. Totally had to rebuild their roster at Texas, but give me Texas.
Okay.
I think I'm
Go
going with
Longhorns.
home court.
Horns up, not
Yeah.
horns down,
Yeah.
right? Audrey, turn of the calendar year. You're into 2025 now, January 15th. Kansas at Iowa State.
You know, I'm going Iowa State here. I think that this is going to be a point in the season where Kansas may be struggling a little bit. I mean, there's times last couple seasons, Kansas has been struggling at this point of the season. So I'm going to say they keep it up. I know they have the pieces, but Iowa State, I see them taking this one.
Zion, you got the rivalry game. January 31st, IU at Purdue.
Man. Always a great game to watch.
Always a great game.
I'm really excited to see like Miles Rice versus Braden Smith. I think it's probably the best player on each team is the point guard. So I'm excited to watch that. At home, night game, Mackey, I have to lean with the Boilermakers.
All righty. Do they win, though? Do the Hoosiers win in Assembly Hall?
I'll say yeah. I say they split it. Now
split
that is a Sunday afternoon game. I feel like the environment may not be as intense.
Sure.
Depending on how good the teams are, right? That'll be late in the season, but I still do think the Hoosiers will win at home and they'll split it.
Kara, your last one, February 11th, UConn at Creighton.
Well, UConn, they lost 4 starters to the NBA, but they're used to rebuilding. They're used to having just continuing guys to build them up. Dan Hurley, great coach. But I'm going to go with Creighton. Sweet 16 team.
Come on, let's
year.
go.
I think that's a big rivalry game for those two teams. I think Creighton, I'm going with all the home teams in this case.
Go.
I think college basketball, the home teams are winning.
So hard to win on the road. Audrey, your last one, March 3rd, you've got Kansas at Houston.
I think this is going to be one of the best matchups of the year. I think this will be a point where Kansas is playing the ball that they want to play. But I have to go Houston. I think just this team is way too strong. They're a Final Four pick that I have for this year, so I'm going Houston.
Zion, take us home, March 8th, Arizona at Kansas. A lot of Kansas on this list, but they're really good.
And I don't want to do the, pick every home team thing, but I just picked Kansas to make the national championship game.
It's true.
I think Arizona's a good team.
It'd be a little blasphemous for you to
right,
exactly.
Here,
right?
I think Arizona's a good team. I like the way Tommy Lloyd kind of runs his offense, but Kansas at home, that team that I think is really good, I got to go with the Jayhawks.
Hey, really appreciate you guys coming on the show. It was super fun, and man, we are in
having
store
us.
for a wild college basketball season. We cannot wait for it to get started. That'll do it for the show this week. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to continue the discussion and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports. And give our Toss Up socials a follow on those same platforms as well. Buckle up and get ready for what is sure to be another crazy season of men's college basketball. With that, there's one thing left to do, so toss it up. Find out if our predictions were correct. And as always, we'll see you next week. God bless.